Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I am so excited to be talking to actually my coaching client, Ayana Fuentes. But where does the Pilar comes from, Ayana?
Pilar is my middle name, and it's so ironic because my brother also has a Spanish middle name, although it's not in our background. We're from the South, but yeah, it's just my middle name.
Gotcha. Okay. And so Ayana and I have been working together for a very long time. I think it's been like 6 months, if not more, like since last year.
October of last year, October 22.
Yes, and the results that you have gotten has been incredible. So I just want you to touch upon a little bit with your most recent transformation. And then I want to go back because I know that you have a very inspiring backstory as well with the transformation that you've had in other ways, not necessarily cardio. Just it goes to show how so many things do work. But if you want to optimize, I think we have all come to the conclusion that the closer we get to carnivore, the easier, healthier, more optimized we get. So do you want to go ahead and start off, actually, let's start off with a little background. Generally, what do you do? And a little bit about you, and then your most recent transformation, because it's so exciting. You're looking phenomenal. And then the transformation that you had prior to this most recent one.
Okay. All right. So quick background. Yes, I have dealt with weight in the past. The first time I was 10 years old, 9, 10, and I tried to pinpoint it by really meditating on why. I think it was just a combination of hormones, because I also got my cycle around that time, and the accessibility of highly palatable foods, I really think was a culprit. So, but I lost weight shortly after I put it on because I didn't want to go to middle school fat. So I kept it off, and I was in dance. And then when I stopped that, I found the gym because my brother, my uncles, everybody worked out. So I've been going to the gym since 16 or 17. And
let me stop you real quick here. How did you lose the weight as a kid first?
Okay, yes, I skipped over that. So my mother was a type 2 diabetic, and she wasn't really a good one. She she definitely struggled, right, with her own carb addiction, even though she was more savory with her choices. But she always wanted better for me. So she put me on her diabetic diet. And she gave me the books and everything because she knew I wanted to lose weight, and she didn't want me to be big because she knows the results of that, So that's the first time I started calorie counting because I followed the diet. It was your standard 1,200 calorie food pyramid diet. I don't know why they called it diabetic, because it didn't reduce carbs at all. But I lost the 30 pounds because at 10, I was 140 and I weigh less than that now. So, it was necessary. I had to lose the weight, So that's what I did. I didn't work out. I was just a normal active kid. I just, paid attention to what I was eating. Right. And so, yeah, and I kept it off all through middle school, high school, college. And it was after I got married that it slowly crept up. Because after I got married, I started my career as a teacher. I went to grad school. And then just everything to do with being newly married. I lost track of, working out, and I would stay up late with my husband because he got off work late with his schedule, and I would eat late at night. And it's just slowly in my 20s, that just slow weight gain happened.
I see.
In the middle of my 20s, I found Atkins, and it worked, and like a light bulb went out. I always knew low carb was good for me. Even as a teenager, I recognized that. And higher protein because I was around bodybuilders. So I recognized that, but it didn't really sink in.
Right.
When I read Atkins' book, and it's his 2001 and prior stuff, not the new stuff. So what he wrote in 2001, in the 90s and the 70s, that's what I was familiar with. So the true Atkins. Anyways, I did that, and I lost 20, 25 pounds immediately.
Wow.
but that was only halfway there. And then I just, you know, started like, oh, I got this. And I put the weight back on. So by the time I was 30, I was at my all-time high of 188. And if you guys have heard of HCG diet, I don't recommend it, but you supposedly take HCG. It's supposed to reset your hypothalamus, and you eat only 500 to 800 calories a day.
You did it. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. And that was like when I was 30. I lost the weight, of course. Thank goodness I was also getting back regular in the gym, because now I can say for the last 15 years, I've been solidly like regular at the gym. Before that, it was off and on. But anyways, I was regular at the gym. And then someone approached me and was like, okay, you're losing weight. You're looking good. Good for you. Have you ever thought about competing? That's when I parlayed that HCG weight loss into like the bodybuilding bro diet and workout regime, which, even though I don't think it's ideal at the time, it was a lifesaver, because I was eating normal amounts of food again, you know, all that. And so then I started training for a competition, and I competed until 35. And so about 4 years, you know, once I started to when I ended. And that was a blast. I love it. I did it with NPC, which is the precursor to the IFBB. And I think that everyone should at least do one competition, or at least like train for one, at least. Because I just think you learn so much about yourself. That's when I really discipline, which I always craved, because it's one thing I knew that I always struggled with health and fitness, not with other parts of my life. But being a competitor taught me more discipline than anything else. And by that time, I had already gotten 2 master's degrees by the time I was 30. So it was in that realm, not other parts of my life. Right. So anyways, after I was done competing, I had a hysterectomy. I still have my ovaries. I just don't have uterus, because of enlarged fibroids. They just kept growing and growing, and it was ridiculous. It was massive. So
were there symptoms?
You know, only I felt sharp pain, because when my gynecologist first noticed it, I had already lost the weight from my 20s, and I was like 31 or something, and they're like, oh, we see fibroids. And I'm like, oh, what's that? I didn't know anything. And they're like, we'll just watch it. They're small. And every year they kept saying, oh, they're getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And then by the time I was done competing, they were huge, like huge. And that's when I started feeling the pain. But before that, it was not really anything. I mean, I always had heavy cycles, even though I was on the birth control pill. I truly feel that being on the birth control pill since I was 21 contributed to that, the increased fibroids. As well as I always consume dairy, and I don't know, and it's like, it's common with African-American women too. I don't know. It's probably common with all women. I don't know. But yeah, so the symptoms was, you know, I've always had heavy cycles. And that's why I got on the birth control pill to subside it, but they were still very heavy. Yeah, my coaches, my bodybuilding coaches, at the time, she was like, oh, she didn't give me a diagnosis, but she just could see that I was like so estrogen dominant, right? That she even had me on estrogen blockers to get ready closer to the show, because, you know, it was just, I have thick skin and they needed to dry me out, all that stuff. Gotcha. But so anyways, I got my fibroids removed along with my uterus, because we never had planned to have children, so it wasn't a big deal. And then
that's such a great topic. I don't know if you want to go there.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, really quick, I'll dive into that really quick and then come back. Okay. I never had the desire to have children, although I love children. I'm a teacher. I love children. Right. So does my husband. He loves children. We oh my goodness, our nephews, his former best friend's sons,
Yeah.
were always at the house, and you know, it's just we always had kids around, but he had a challenging childhood.
Mm.
I'll say that. And he just was like, I just can't, I don't want to, you know. So, and I was like, well, I'm fine. Like,
Right. It's not like you were like, oh no, how no, let's talk about it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I was nervous because I always heard, oh, once you get into your mid-30s, you're going to have that. And it never came. So I was like, I'm fine.
That's funny. Yeah, me too. I'm 36 and it's like I still don't feel like I want him. Not now,
Right. And,
at least, you know? Yeah.
and you're the age I was when I had the hysterectomy, the partial hysterectomy. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm still good, you know. But so I kept my weight off, you know, through competing. Now, was I as cut and everything? No, but I was fine even in my later 30s. It was 2018, 2019 when I just blew up. I got caught up in moving up the ladder at work. I thought I wanted to do more, and then I realized no, but at the time. And I was also just involved in other volunteer work. I was just so busy that I neglected my health and fitness and my tracking, my, like, you know, minding what I was eating.
Yeah.
It just went out the window, which is so weird for me to even say that out loud now, because it's not like me, but that was me at that time. So anyways, I was like, during shutdown, I was like, all right, Ayana, let's get this under wraps. And I lost the 50 pounds during the shutdown in that 2020 year, with the help of my, at the time, my advisor, Scott Kramer. And he's big like you with mindset. And so I was adopting that. Again, I did 75 hard along with it to increase my discipline. And then since then, I've kept it off. So I found Carnivore because he was like, he did it. And I'm like, that's insane. What are you talking about? But I was like, I'll give it a try because I wanted to do a photo shoot. And so I did it and I liked it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll continue. And that's how I found myself in this world of Carnivore for the last 3 years. So.
And that's how you eventually found me.
Yes, because I found you because I was connected with Danny Conway and a group she had a while ago with Amy and Emily from Clarity System. You know, they had a group on Mining Networks and I was their advisor. And, you know, I learned a lot, you know, and so I was like, okay, this is, you know, I'll stick with this. You know, I've never been 100%. I've been 100% in moments of time, but not all the time. And I was like, I like this. I like the way I feel. You know, you are less consumed with thoughts of food, but the trends are real in the carnivore community. So, so I found myself like, oh, I'll try 80-20, you know, this like butter, fat, whatever. And it was the worst thing I did. Like,
What do you
for
mean
me,
20?
80-20. So 80% fat, 20% protein. And for my goals, and maybe for my metabolism, I don't know. I'm not that, you know, I don't know a lot about that in detail.
Right.
It just was not good for me.
Right.
My protein was lower and I decreased based on my in-body scans. And I know it's not the most accurate, but it's the consistent use of it, right?
I agree.
I dropped skeletal muscle mass and increased body fat just from doing it for 8 weeks. And I was like, no. So I needed to recomp and even drop some weight because I was thinking, oh, I should bulk.
Right.
Don't ever bulk. Anyways, so that's what I found you, because I was like, wow, Sarah is a doctor and she advocates for carnivore, but she also works out. And okay, I like this. So that's how I found you. So thank goodness, because I'm like, it's crazy out there. And then of course with you, I got very strict carnivore. And that I started around 148 with you. I can't remember my body fat. In just a couple of months time, I was at 134, 135, with you. And I've maintained that. I've dipped to like closer to 130, like when I recently did another photo shoot, when I did Lion Diet. But I'm stable between like 133, 135. And yeah, so just, you know, you were all about carnivore, although you knew I was never like 100%, but still that's the optimal. And with the training, with the cardio, you know, that was really focused on, and the intensity of it really helped me too. So
I loved that evolution for sure. How, you know, we did the carnivore diet and then eventually realized the whole addiction piece. We really got to tackle that, fix that dopamine deficit, you know, and it was a little bit of a whirlwind, you know, for this message to be absorbed.
yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yes.
I remember.
It's been a roller coaster because I was January. I definitely was like, oh, let me, you know, go back to some carbs. Not the way I'm doing it now.
Right. I forgot that phase. That's true.
Yeah, it's not the way I'm doing it now, which is very, you know, moderate. It's not processed. It's different. Back then, I was just like, oh, I've done, like, for me, very strict carnivore for a long time. Let me like add some stuff in. So I was adding stuff in. I was like, I just need a break. And then I was like, ooh, I don't like the way I'm feeling, because it was not natural stuff. You know what I mean? It was just an excuse to have processed low calorie things, right?
Right.
And so I came back, and so, but the addiction talk, when you started doing that, really has opened my eyes to how I react to these foods. And then I was able to reflect, like, my mother was my first addiction person. She was like the one who was so addicted. And because I remember trying to help her so much with her diabetes and everything, and it was just a no-go. And she was very firm with what she wanted and what she did not want. And even my dad, even though he's a moderator, and you know, with a grain of salt, I'll say that he has to have his little, you know, shot of you know, whiskey or whatever, and he likes everything sweet, fruit, even the bad stuff. And to take that away from him now, I'm not going to even try, because he's 76. But you see the world differently when you learn about addiction.
Right? It's like a light bulb turns on in your brain. And I can remember when it hit you, because we've been working together throughout the whole period of time. You know, every once in a while you'll book a consult and we'll go over, okay, what has been working, what hasn't been working. And I can very clearly remember, you know, your now that you mention it, like the carbohydrate foray. It's like, I'm gonna do that. I think you wanted to bulk at that point. That's why you did it a little bit, right?
Yeah, just a little bit, you know, and I have gotten that out of my brain, just FYI, but yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, when you started watching all the interviews that I was doing, you know, with Mike Collins, Dr. Vera Tarman, everybody, Bitten Johnson, that's how you say it, right? Yeah, Dr. Joan Ifland, it just when you talk to them, and they've been working with sugar addicts and food addicts and carbohydrate addicts for a very long period of time, it's just amazing the amount of insight that they have, and it hits you differently, and you'll never look at food the same way again, you know?
Oh yeah, never.
Yeah. And I remember seeing that very clearly in you, and like seeing the shifts in you, and then eventually now it's, I think you and I have gotten to a more chilled approach to build that dopamine. We still recognize just how addictive those foods are, but you know, if you had an element electrolyte mix that has a little bit of artificial sweeteners, but you're building your brain back up again, you're building that dopamine deficit, that's all that matters. You won't be addicted when the dopamine, when your baseline level of dopamine is elevated. And that's been very helpful, right?
It has been very helpful, because I was caught up in like getting all of the information, and I was like, whoa, just light bulbs going off all over the place. My poor husband was like, I don't want to talk about addiction tonight. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
That is hilarious. That's what my hubby told me too.
I'm like, man, I'm sorry. But it's just, when you're learning something, it's just so fascinating.
Sure.
But I like how we have also discussed, again, discipline and mindset in connection with that. So yes, am I like really, am I addicted to that sweet taste and whatever? Yes, there's a component there. However, I also want to employ the discipline and the mindset too, because these things are going to be everywhere. It's not like quitting alcohol or quitting, crack cocaine, whatever. You can quit that. With food, there's always that little element there. So I want to stay away from what I know is a trigger, but also employ that discipline and mindset. And with the rehab that you had me on, it definitely helped, because I've always been someone that when I exercised intensely and I would be done, I wasn't hungry or thinking about those trivial things anymore. But with this, because it's pushing myself to go even more intense, it's even better. So I don't get caught up in the weeds of like, uh-oh, what if I have a little bit of this or a little bit of that? I feel more confident in my choices and my ability to be like, okay, I don't need that. Let me just focus on what I should be eating and move on about my day. So that really has helped.
I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, I can see that empowerment. You feel empowered when you get stronger and you get more higher and higher levels of fitness. And it's not about the body composition. You don't even need to do cardio to maintain currently your weight. You've been maintaining it anyway, right? And so what we're doing now is we're using the rehab program that I do, which is basically progressively intensifying your cardio and your weight training and counting the time under tension that you spend every week and trying to beat that, or at least maintain it, so that over time your weights you can lift go up and the speeds you can hit go up. And so when you do that, this is how you build your food freedom. This is how you really do find food freedom, because your brain is relaxed. It's operating at a high level of dopamine. It's so much easier now for me to deploy discipline, as I'm sure you have noticed. It's like a tiny uncomfortable feeling is like, no, I'm not going to have it. I know I've just deployed discipline, because it was a little bit uncomfortable to say that, but compared to how I would feel in the past, I would be like breaking apart, falling apart, to make that decision. Like, I remember even having the shakes. That's how hard the cravings would get. One time I was like, wow, it can actually get physical if you really resist it till the end.
It is amazing what it has on us. And I'm not done yet. Like right now, I'm focused on increasing my dopamine, for sure. So with the intense exercise, I've always progressive overload with weight training, but I never really tried it with cardio. You know what I mean? And so I signed up for a half marathon in December, but I'm still employing what you gave me to do, although I'll have to cut back on the times of going back to work. The intensity I still want to keep ramping up within a shorter period of time, but increasing that intensity so that my dopamine can increase, because I feel that, in the future, I can employ even more discipline, because right now and I've always been, honestly, without even realizing it. Dr. Berry says the proper human diet, right? Low carb, animal based, keto, carnivore, right? I'm always in that realm. Like I've always been without knowing it, right?
Yeah.
And I plan to stay there. But I do feel the closer you are to carnivore, it is better. But right now, my rehab is increasing my dopamine and working on my mindset. And then we'll see what the future holds. You know what I mean?
Fantastic. Yeah. And I remember we were chatting the other day. We're chatting all the time, actually. It's so much fun to find
Yeah.
somebody that, it's this community, brings people together, right? And it's like we share so many similar interests and ways of thinking
Mhm.
about things. So what were we talking about the other day? Oh, when you mentioned something and I responded with how I've been doing light mayo and
Yeah.
and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I feel so relieved to know that, right? You want to share a
I
little bit about,
remember. I
yeah,
felt like I felt it was like my confession. I was like, okay, before I sit down and talk with you, I need to tell you what I'm doing. I've been
yeah,
having salads. I've like, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to tell you so you wouldn't be like,
right.
surprised or
Ayana, the carnivore, is no longer a carnivore. I think I consider you to be a carnivore. I consider myself to be a carnivore. But yeah, of course, if you want to be a purist, it's like, that's not a carnivore because, you
yeah.
have some mayo, or, I mean, if you have an electrolyte mix, you're no longer a carnivore, right? Because it's got stevia or whatever. Right? So
Right.
so when you reacted like you're so relieved that okay, now I've scripted a whole video that I'm gonna film. I think I'm gonna film it right after today. What I
Yay.
eat in a day. I think people will feel relieved to know that we're not perfect. I do
Mhm.
think the goal should be perfection, but
Mhm.
to get there, when you're I mean, I still feel like my dopamine still has room to improve. I think I'll never be
Mhm.
satisfied. I'll always want to optimize. I don't know where I can stop, It's like why would you want to stop, Because I feel like at every higher fitness level, new things open up, new ways of thinking, new ways of being, your confidence, the way you talk to people,
Yeah.
the way you don't take crap from anybody. It's so funny.
Right.
I don't know if I should say that. You know what? I'm not gonna say that. I feel like I've opened up too many doors. But I'll tell you a story later, off the record about how, just you don't let anybody kind of belittle you or even say something that might be considered to be a little rude, or it's like right
Yeah.
away, you won't accept that. Um,
Alpha.
Exactly. Yeah, you won't let anybody be an alpha in the room that you're in. You'll be the alpha all the time.
Right.
That's pretty, yeah, I mean, dopamine really is correlated with that. It's correlated with your testosterone levels. It's correlated with your self-confidence. It's correlated with the social hierarchy
Yeah.
level that you're in.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I really and learning about that is just so fascinating because it's something that we all know how to increase dopamine in a pleasurable way, but is that always beneficial? Is that making you a better human? Instead of trying to gain it through hard work and that discipline. That's a different way of attacking it, and it's going to be better for you and the people around you. So
Yeah, exactly. When you earn it, you upregulate the baseline level so that even when you wake up in the morning, as you go about your day, even if you don't work out on that day or for a whole week you didn't work out, your baseline level of dopamine has already been reset to a higher level. That's what
mhm.
exercise does. Whereas if you have a cupcake or a line of Coke or any kind of addiction, it's going to release a bunch of dopamine for a few
Mhm.
seconds, and that's not upregulating your baseline. It's going to make you feel the effects of dopamine for a very short period of time. And then literally a few seconds later, a few hours later, your baseline dopamine activity has dropped now. And so now for the next week, you wake up and your baseline is lower and you're feeling
Yeah.
depressed, unmotivated, stressed out because you don't have enough of that cortisol buffer, because dopamine is known as the anti-stress molecule, and you
See,
just have anxiety. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel that because in different aspects of my life, I realized that like I definitely hold strong to like my spirituality, my spiritual life. but which I think is almost like equal, I have to always focus on health and fitness, because to me, that's also mentally and emotionally good for me, not just physical.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with my mental and emotional health, working out, and all of it. I really, really do. It's so many situations in my life where I've kept my workout routine
Yeah.
going, even through the most stressful times in my life, because it was my sanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love it. Me too. I would say 99% of the reason why I train so hard is for the mental part of it, the mindset, the mental strength. That
Mhm.
dopamine, that's what mental strength is, like higher dopamine. And of course, I mean all the other neurochemicals, but we like to keep it simple.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like, and it helps me also have clarity, because even though I'm employing that discipline through what we're talking about, and with the, exercise and things like that, I also recognize, like, okay, this I can have, but I'm not 100% yet. So this food is still not going to serve me well. Let me stay away from that because I'm not there yet. So I'm able to, I guess, I don't like using moderator or abstainer, but I'm able to moderate because I recognize what for me is good, what for me is not so good.
I
So,
get it. I get that 100%. The mental clarity is great too. The creativity is fantastic. I get like my memory, my creativity, like all those things. I've started noticing, I don't know if I'm getting too excited. I don't want to film a video on that just yet. I want at least a couple months to pass by to solidify this, but I don't know if you've noticed that, but I'm requiring a lot less sleep, like 7 hours of sleep, and I'm fine. Today it was like 6 hours. I woke up, drank nothing, not like peppermint tea without like nothing caffeinated. And I am in shock. Like, and
yeah.
I went and I'm doing my research and I can't find any study about that. Everything says that, oh, if you work out, you're gonna need more sleep. And it's like, but I'm feeling the complete opposite. How can this be?
Interesting. Yeah. See what it does in the next couple of months, because I remember you were the person who always has to have 8 or 9 hours. And I mean, I would love to have 5 or 6.
Oh, wouldn't that be
Um,
nice?
I would love it, because then I could just, because I don't like talking about doing hard things. I don't like to go to sleep sometimes. That's what that, I don't know. I just want to keep working or keep doing or reading. Right. But anyway, I do best with like a solid, that's the key word, solid 6 or 7 hours. I do well on,
Yeah,
solid all the way through. Yeah.
yeah. Apparently, me too now. But I'm still very scared to say it out loud because I'm like, is this really happening? I'm just too excited for this. I'm gonna give it a couple of months before I declare victory on this aspect.
Let's see what happens come
Right?
what are we, July, so like October.
End of
See what
July.
happens.
So let's say, yeah, August, September. Yeah, beginning of October, I should tell everybody. But knowing me, I'm so impatient. I'll be like, in a couple of weeks, you'll see a video out.
I'm impatient too. I'm impatient too. And that's another thing about knowing thyself, is
Yeah.
that I can be impulsive.
Mm,
I can be impatient. And I am actively working on that too, because I'll recognize, I'm like, okay, Ayana, calm down. Let's see how I do, with this. Is it working? Let's not, like you just said, declare victory yet. Let's see how this pans out. So yeah, that's something I'm
yeah.
definitely always cognizant of.
Have you noticed? So for me, at this level right now, where I'm hitting now 14 miles a day.
Woo!
I know. Um, the focus that I get, I'm get sitting down, scripting a YouTube video, posting an Instagram. Like I try to make it a point to at least put out one YouTube video, one Instagram a day. The work that has to be done, I am so focused. Like I don't, so easy for me to resist the urge. I almost don't feel the urge anymore because it's become so easy for me to resist the urge to pick up my phone and check Instagram for a quick second or check my email, whatever, that I don't even feel like, did I even have the urge to have it? Like, I'm just like, it's like somebody gave you an Adderall pill or two.
Yeah.
And you're like, whew.
Yeah,
Wild.
no, that's true because I have noticed, like, because this past weekend I was out of town, we were at a convention. It was called Exercise Patients. And so I didn't work
Right.
out.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it was just a bunch of talks about that and how to employ it. Yeah, I needed it. But anyways, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because it was all day and being out of town, I didn't work out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so yesterday I ran a 5K.
Okay.
That's all I had time to do yesterday. And then today I had my normal workout with my weight training and my cardio. But I noticed on Sunday, I was like, oh, I'm feeling restless. I was feeling restless from not working out. And then
Yeah.
Monday, I felt so much better. And I noticed that when I do really focus on my time under tension, that what you just described, I feel that more. And it is weird. It's almost like, yeah, I just took something.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right. Greg Doucette would be so proud of us right now.
I know.
He'd be like, I told you so.
I know. And it's so funny because I've been following him for years, but only certain videos I would watch. But since you have been sharing more, I'm like, oh, I missed that one. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, because I add them to the client mindset and the client. I have 3 playlists for all my clients, right? And who gets them? My one-on-one coaching clients and the group coaching, everybody
Group
gets them.
coaching.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
So,
Yeah.
and it's really important for me to put it as a goal. So when I work with my clients, it's rarely only the diet. Most of the time when I work with clients, you give them the diet, the exercise, the supplement plan, interpret the labs. And more importantly, we literally look at their career, their finances, their dreams and goals, their limiting beliefs. It's about, you really like revamp the whole life, because you can't tell somebody to stop eating cake when they're living in a toxic relationship, although stopping cake makes you stronger and then sprinting makes you stronger, so you can set boundaries, easily leave that toxic relationship without feeling that fear, that feeling a fear of abandonment.
Yes, and it's so true because I can say from my point of view, it has been so much of the discipline and mindset in order to see results, because my weight gain in my 20s, it was a slow increase, right? It wasn't overnight. And so by the time I was 30, I was like, I'm done, right? And that's why I impatient, I did the HCG. Like I said, thank goodness I found competing, because it made that transition out of that crazy diet better. So my why was always important after that. Like getting on stage is huge why. And then when I gained it a second time as an adult, it messed me up emotionally and physically. I'm like, how, with everything I know, how did I let myself get here? And it was fast. It wasn't slow like in my 20s, because my 20s I was young and having fun and just distracted. But it was fast this time, literally in 2 years, up 50 pounds. I'm like, so I had to approach my weight loss so differently, because I was like, all right, this is going to take me a long time. So let me just do it day by day, hit my protein and my calories. I didn't care about anything else. Let me just focus on my habits, and that's it. And that's what I revisited when I got with you too, because it's like, that to me is the golden standard. You have to, it's habits every day that will create that discipline, and you have to employ that.
Yeah, routines are huge if you want to maintain a fit physique, 1000%.
And having goals. So even though the stage was 10 years ago, I'll sign up for this race or that race, or I'll do this photo shoot or that. Something, a goal is always fun too.
Right. Right. Yeah, I didn't know you were signing up for the marathon. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how you evolve and you get there. And you're gonna
Mhm.
do it so easily now because you're training with the goal in time under tension. I wanna suffer, but it's not really suffering, right? Let's break
No.
that down because I feel like that 'cause I always feel like people come to me as the last resort because they've tried the all-you-can-eat challenges. They've tried, and then they gain the weight, and it doesn't work, and they're still having cravings, and they're still addicted. And now they come across my content, and then they find me. I feel like I'm always the last resort. So why do you think that is? Give me, you know.
Yeah, because I'm very observant and I've been in this space now for, yeah, 2 years solid, over 2 years now. And oh my goodness, why do people not want to hear it? Because it's difficult and people want the easy way out. Okay. So that's number one. And that's just human nature. Path of least resistance. That's just how humans are.
Right.
So that's number one. And number two is a lot of people who have had, because I think you're in this category now, but in the past who have had a stronger influence in the community, minus Dr. Sean Baker, um, has they've never talked about exercise, and they've always been like, oh, don't exercise, just eat the meat, and okay, now eat butter because of your hormones and all this stuff. Oh, cortisol and adrenals, and just scaring everybody with this. Danny Conway has always been about exercise, though. I forgot to mention her.
That's
But
fantastic.
I just think that has been what people have been saying for so long, and it's always been a disconnect with me. I'm like, you guys, you have to move. What is going on here? Like, don't just sit and stuff your face with meat to cure a craving.
Right.
Like, how is that going to help your habits? And
Right.
so I just think that that's just what people have heard so long,
Yeah,
and it
that's so
sounds
true.
easy.
And this is, I felt for that too, right? 'Cause I was the person, I guess, also that really fought this till the last breath, I remember at some point it would open up a cabinet and I had all of the herbs, all L-Dopa, SAM-E, tyrosine, all the amino acids. Yeah, I remember reading the book by Julia Ross. I'm gonna try to get her for the podcast, by the way. She's into food addiction, sugar addiction, things like that. So Food Cure and Mood Cure, two books that I read. I mean, I've been doing this for so long, and I
Oh,
bought all of the supplements. Nothing works. Nothing works. I even tried to convince my doctor that I have hypothyroidism because it was like not like optimal. He gave me the desiccated thyroid, and it was like sometimes maybe sometimes people have to go through everything, try see for yourself. And the problem with trying everything is that you will never cease to be hooked by some new promise. Every second there's a new book telling you, a new hack, a new easy. Oh, and you know what, my life transformed the moment I started becoming allergic to anything that is easy, quick, or fast.
there you go.
That means it doesn't work,
I like that.
right?
I like that a lot. I will use that again. I like that.
Yeah. The first time I read that, I wasn't ready to accept this message. I didn't come up with that. It was Michael Matthews. I used to have his cookbooks back again when I was trying to like everything. I eat everything just with more protein.
Yeah, 100%. I know. I know. Same
Right.
thing.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So he had a book about I think it's called like Little Black Book of Discipline or Mindset or something like that. I mean, I would get everything that he would put out, and I love the mindset talk that but the thing is he doesn't understand addiction because he never had it. And that's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
so he in that he talks about like just you got to run away from anything that's fast, easy, or quick. And it's just stuck with me, but I still wasn't ready to suffer. I don't look at it as suffering though. Like I'm
But
looking forward to
it's
get
human
strong.
nature. Yeah, it's human nature to do easy. And that's why mindset development and behavior modifications are so important. And with your intense rehab, so to go back to what we were about to share, like for me right now, I have to bring my cardio down to an hour. And some people are going to be like, what? But anyways, I had extra time on my hands, so I could do more.
Yeah.
So my weight training has always been 45 minutes to an hour, and for me, that's progressive overload with my heavy lifts, compound lifts. Okay, but cardio now I'm going to have to. The time under tension now is going to make sure it's not over 60 minutes, and that my goal is to eventually be able to run 7 miles within that 60 minutes. Right now I can do a little shy of 6 miles
You're almost
in an
there.
hour if I push myself.
Yeah.
A little shy. And that's running all the way through. Because a lot of times I'll walk on an uphill and then I will sprint and then go back to a jog and then sprint.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
That's how I do it. I sprint, jog, and then at some point, actually, I sprint, walk, then jog until it's over.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so for me, I've gotten up to 8 miles per hour for a couple of minutes when sprinting. And I know I can do more, but I'm also cognizant of past injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you know, we're talking time under tension, I guess that's like the best way to describe it. And today I did the death climb. I was doing my stairs.
The death climb.
So for like a few flights, like 20 or 24 flights, I would bump it up to like level 10, and then I would bump it back down to level 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, as long as you feel like I don't want to be here right now, or you're thinking to myself, when is the next break from this? Then you are in the right zone. That's the zone that's uncomfortable, that's going to increase your D2 receptor, your baseline dopamine levels.
yeah, exactly. And so that's the plan. That is the plan. So that does work. It does make you stronger mentally, you know. Just follow David Goggins if you don't believe us also.
Yeah. When I'm doing my sprints, I time it so on my YouTube playlist so that when it's time for the sprints, it's David Goggins shouting at me.
Yes, I've done that. I have done that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done that for sure.
Yeah. So I do think though for us, it's we say suffering and pain, but like it's not that bad. Like it's your pain threshold goes up. So now even if I'm going at a sprint that's even faster than last week's sprint, I'm expecting to feel like, oh my gosh, but I'm like, wait a second, should I start counting my minutes? Like when you start doubting that, that means your pain threshold has went up, that objectively, like rationally, you know that this is really, really, really intense. I'm sprinting right now. But the experience of it is, it's an experience of suffering. It's an experience of, it's just different. It's like we're numb to that, you know, right?
Yeah, it is. It is different. It's almost like, I know you've said this before, but superhuman. Like, and it's once you are in it, like if I'm in a sprint and I'm like, oh, I'm 8.0, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, it's hard. You know, 2 minutes have gone by. Then I'm like, oh, 2 minutes have gone by. I could probably do higher. But, you know, I'm also modest, and I'm like, okay, let me go back down and I'll try it next time or something. You know what I mean? And so you just, it's a strength that develops.
Yeah.
So I really, we're capable of doing more than we first set out to do, I feel. You know, we want to be smart with it, but I feel that we're definitely capable of more. You know?
Yeah. And we don't feel like it is, we know that we're pushing ourselves. It's like we have achieved a state where we're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We've gotten it. And that's, I think, what stops a lot of people from listening to this one message that would solve 100% of all of their problems. It's because they haven't had enough experience putting themselves in those moments. When you don't move your body for decades, because I have clients like that, right? Where you just started working with me, they finally understood everything there. It's not working. They understand the dopamine deficit. They understand that the only way to build it is by putting yourself through anything painful stimulus. That's the only way you can upregulate dopamine receptor or baseline dopamine level. So cognitively, they know that. But once we come to apply this, it's like, how can I feel like I'm about to die after a 5-minute jog? I'm like, yeah, it's gonna feel like that. But you don't have to do 5 minutes. Just do 2 minutes, rest, do another 2 minutes. You know, eventually you'll feel the 5 minutes are fine, but maybe you die on the 6th minute. Then that's progress. You know, then do 5 minutes and a half for, you know.
Exactly.
So I think it's the patience that they gotta have faith that it's going to get better. They gotta have faith that that's not the experience that we're having. Because if we're feeling this way, we wouldn't look forward to progress on our, you know, with our workouts.
Exactly. And it's that delayed gratification. Like it's not going to be immediate with like when you're in it, you're like, oh wow, that feels fantastic. So that part is immediate. But with certain goals that we want to achieve, it's not going to be immediate, and you have to be okay with that and enjoy the process and getting there. And then you can look back and be like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
So it's, that patience is so necessary.
Yeah.
It is.
Because,
you know,
you and I have talked so much about how it seems like at the 7 to 8 miles approximately is like the sweet spot for where it is impossible for you to have a craving or an addictive tendency. It seems like that's where you want it every day. I don't care what's happening. You got to do those 7 or 8 miles. And I'm working with someone right now, like for her to be able to do those 7 or 8 miles a day. I'm not even talking about being able to do them in 1 hour the way that you're about to do it soon, because you've progressed so fast. Like I'm talking even if it takes her 3 hours to do them. But for her to be able to reach that, she has months to go, because if she can't do 5-minute jogging, how, you know, like what are you gonna, if you walk the 8 miles, there's no sensation of discomfort, that not that much. So there's like minimum dopamine upregulation, right? So you just have to have then that faith and that belief in the process and trusting the process in that, okay, I know it's going to take months. I just have to, no matter what happens, I don't care if I have a binge, I don't care what happens in my life. The only constant is going to be that I'm going to every day be fitter than the day before, closer and closer and closer and closer to hitting that 7 or 8 miles a day. Because once she feels that, I don't have to lecture anymore. I don't have to help with my, you know, talking anymore. Like that's it. She's hooked for life. She's like, oh my gosh, wow, this is incredible. You are right. I'm never letting this thing go.
Exactly. No, that is so true. It is so true, because it's like you hit that mark. I remember when I did a 7-mile run, because of my training, and the goal was to run the entire time, because, you know, I wanted to build that endurance of straight running, whereas other times I will do the split, you know,
HIIT,
work. But for the purpose of what I'm training for, you do have to do the long endurance, which a lot of people don't like, but it's for a purpose. Anyways, when I did that 7 miles, or when I do that, oh man, after I'm done, I am just like on fire. I'm like ready to do whatever.
Right. It's like you popped an Adderall pill. That's what it's pre-Adderall, guys, without the crash. Clean cocaine.
It is. It's so true. And I know that a lot of people don't like cardio in this space, or in any space. Even the bodybuilding. But I understand, because with bodybuilding, you use it as a tool. And I get that. I will titrate down after my half marathon. I will titrate down so that in the future I can use it as a tool again if I want. I'll always have a base though. But in bodybuilding, you know, they want you at 0 cardio when you start and your food's higher, so that they can make the manipulations towards your stage day. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But most of us are not competitors here. So, you know, we can still use this as a tool to deal with cravings and addiction. So that's
Yeah,
the point.
because we're doing it for the mental aspect, because
Yes.
99% of the population has an issue mentally with the addiction, right? I agree. You can drop body weight and it's probably easier. If your only goal is weight loss, I would say, yeah, stay at zero cardio. And then when it's time to shred for a competition, then you do like, yeah, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, keep, you know, raising it up because your body's going to adapt a little bit. We're training for life. We're
Yeah.
training for mental strength. We're training to get high all the time naturally. Because now when you're
Yes.
the alpha, you have everything you want, you know, the millions of dollars, the solid relationships. You are at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
It's a
Totally.
totally different goal. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And because I haven't been in that world for over a decade, bodybuilding, but I still live my life like that, minus 2018, 2019, when I lost my way. But anyways, I still live my life like that. So this mindset is different.
Yeah.
So this is a different mindset, because I think this will lead me into the rest of my life well, because we need the muscle mass for longevity, but just for osteoporosis, for everything. But we also need the cardio for our heart, and we need all of it for the mental. I feel, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, and ladies, men, if you don't, I have to share this because I forgot to tell you, like when I'm running, if you ever want to jog or run, if you ever want to bring it into your life, your legs shape up so nicely. Because I'm always weight training, and so I've seen the progress, right? But I'm telling you, running, it shapes it up in a different way.
You want those curves, right?
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about fitness. It is earned. No, you know,
Yeah.
nobody is born with amazing glute. I mean, some, but maybe like 0.01%. You look at that person, it's like, how can they have those glutes? How is that even possible? You know, they're eating chips or whatever at the beach. Like,
Right. I'm
right?
like,
Those like, yeah, very, very, it's almost for all of our purposes, almost non-existent. So most of us are born without looking fit. Now, sure, you could say that if your genetics make you skinny, that's more favorable. It looks better, versus if your genetics, your set point genetics are fluffy or overweight or obese, right? But even
right.
the skinny person, while this is more favored, they still aren't fit. They don't have the glutes, they don't have the quads, they don't have the hamstring, they don't have that look that now everybody is after, right?
Right.
So fitness is
Exactly.
earned. A good body doesn't, nobody is born with it.
Yes. And I remember a trainer told me that long time ago, and he's still around, great guy. He said, I think it was after a competition that I didn't do so well in, you know, he's like, just focus on being the trophy, not necessarily always having to get the trophy. So in other words, he's like, what you're saying, it's like what we do, no one can take away from us. So you can have the best conditioning and pop of muscle, but that day just wasn't your day. But what you have done is no one can take that from you. Like that is hard work, a lot of mental work as well,
Yes.
and no one can take that from you.
That
Yeah.
experience that you've got, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's no such thing as a failure, right? I mean,
No.
it,
No.
it is essential to have it, to learn so you can get better, so eventually you succeed, you know?
Oh my goodness. So I was pretty consistent, like with the comp. I was always regional, but it was like third place, second place, third place, second place, right?
Right.
And so it's like, okay. And I was fine with that, right? But second call outs is what you don't want. And so the couple of times I got second call outs is when I felt like that. I was like, oh, but I learned from those more than anything. And finally I got first place, and that's when I stopped and moved on to something else. But yeah, I learned so much from the second call outs more than anything. I was like,
Right.
wow,
Yeah,
what
because
did you?
yeah, because if you win the show, you've arrived, right?
Right.
But second
Exactly.
call out, you're gonna look at the judge's feedback like a hawk.
Exactly. I'm like,
Right?
what did I do? Right. And
Yes.
even with this last weight gain, which I never thought I would experience again, like, you know, in 2018, 2019, I learned so much from that. And I learned what never to do again. Never put health and fitness on the back burner. It's just as important as my relationships and my spirituality. Like, that has to be a part of it. I just learned so much about what to not do when that happened, because it
Can
kind of
you
like blew my mind. Like,
can you share a little bit? What are can you kind of try like remember like what are some things would you say never to do again from that experience?
for me, and this might help other people, but for me, I always have to have a goal, right? And it could
Mm,
be a little one, a big one, whatever, working towards something, working on bettering myself in some way. And so attaching that to health and fitness is a plus. And that's what will, I think, just make me better in all aspects. Um, and the really tangible things is I stopped tracking my food. Um, and I mean, I can eyeball stuff now, and I'm okay. I've been doing it for long enough, but still, I'm mindful somehow. I
yeah.
stopped weighing myself, and I know some people are like, "What? Wait," but it's just to keep track, so that people can keep track however they want. Whether it's a belt buckle or whatever. For me,
Mm,
it's the scale, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what happened." Tracking my food, and of course making sure I work out. So those things fell off. And
yeah.
I thought, oh, I got this. I'm fine. No, I'm
Right.
not.
There you
I'm not
have it.
fine.
Easy
So,
peasy. You do the
right?
work, you have the rewards. You stop doing the work, you lose the rewards. End of story. Now give
Exactly.
me $100. End of consultation. It's so easy, you know?
It is. It is. Well, and the other layer I will add to tracking food and weighing myself or doing in bodies and working out every day is understanding addiction too. So I've
Mm,
added that to it because it can be a slippery slope if you get too cocky.
yeah.
So even though I'm managing my stuff and I'm good, I feel confident, it's still, I still have to be aware of it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 1000%. Even though we're
Mhm.
a little bit more chill with our approach, even me with my clients, I'm like, it's
Mhm.
okay if you feel a strong urge, go out, get yourself a protein bar, as opposed to otherwise, if you're thinking I'm gonna do only strict carnivore, and if I can't handle it today, I'm just gonna forget about the meal plan and go binge. Like, what's
Yeah.
better? You know, one, two, maybe even three Quest bars. That's 600 calories with what is 25 grams each, you know, of protein.
Yeah. Yeah.
75 grams of protein, or almost no protein and 3,000 calories of crap. That's going to addict your brain. It's not just about the calories. Now you're going to suffer more tomorrow, because tomorrow your D2 levels, your baseline levels of dopamine, are so much lower than what they would have been had you only had the three Quest bars.
100%. There you go. Yeah. 100%. Yes.
You're preaching to the choir,
Yes. Yes.
right?
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
We have figured it out, Ayana. We did it
yes.
finally. Because it's not just about, yeah, okay, we can look fit, fine. But we want the food freedom. We want peace in our minds. That's
Yes.
what we really want. It's that mental aspect. That's what we're after.
Exactly. Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. You know what? One more thing with regards to weighing yourself daily. I love that. That's what I do every day. That's what I recommend all my clients do every day. And very quickly, they desensitize themselves and their emotions from the daily fluctuations. And they realize one extra piece of bacon and they add 1 pound the next day. It's like, yeah, the sodium, you know? And so,
Exactly.
right?
I totally agree because I'm helping my sister-in-law and I'm trying to get her to do it, but I don't want to trigger her. But weigh every day and then take the average at the end of the week and then compare those weekly averages to each other. And that's a
Yeah.
better idea of what's going on.
What I do exactly the same thing. I look at the lowest weight that the client has achieved in that week, and I compare it to the lowest weight the next week, because your lowest weight ever is like your true real low weight, you know? And I do that because sometimes if I only take their average, or if I ask them to only take the average, they'll have, let's say, one day where it's just too much sodium, will blow up 3 pounds up, you know, and that can mess the average and bring the average up, when in fact their lowest weight was like really low and it's like a new low weight, you know? But
True.
Yeah.
I like that actually. I like that idea.
Yeah, but it's the same, pretty much the same idea, right? Just like, you know, weigh yourself every day. That is such golden advice. I agree.
Yeah, I do. And even Robert Sykes, Keto Savage, in his bodybuilding book, he says to do the same thing, you know, because it's going to be a better picture. You weigh yourself randomly on a Wednesday and you're like crying because you're up 5 pounds.
Right.
But it's like, well, even the day before you weren't. It's like our bodies do this, you know, all the time.
If you're constipated for a couple of days, those are 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the person's frame. That might be anywhere from 1 pound to 6 pounds, if even more. My hubby, after his keto cheat meal, well, I bake him all of the keto cookies.
Right.
He's up like 8 to 10 pounds, and then it just drops him, like, you know, but he's 6'5". So for his frame, you say it's a lot of pounds, but not really for his frame, you know?
Yeah.
And it's mostly water and fiber.
Yeah. And then for me, it's like, because I was in the habit of weighing myself every day and understanding that's another thing. You understand your body so much more. Yeah. But, like if I ever had like, back in the day, like a cheat meal, I don't really call it that anymore. I don't do that anymore. I just kind of like, oh, I want this, I'll have it. Anyways. But whenever I would have a cheat meal, right, I was never up the next day. For me, it was always 2 days later. So if I had a cheat meal on Saturday, Sunday was normal. It was Monday and Tuesday that was up, and then Wednesday I'd go back down, and then Thursday, you know what I mean? So like that, I
remember. Yeah, I remember starting to notice that after I read a book by Dr. Mark Hyman way back in the day when I was still trying to look for hacks and reading all the books. And he had a food elimination 7-day. He has a small book about how to do a food elimination diet for 7 days. And he tells you guys week by week how to do that. And I mean, day by day, how to do that. And I remember the chapter on day 2 and the chapter on day 3 is like, okay, day 2, now you're starting, this is the worst of it. Day 3, this is also the worst of it. Day 4, now you're starting to come out of the brain fog from the addictions. And that's when it's like, wow, why day 2 and day 3, not the first day, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. I know. It's funny how our body works, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's like that is the time for withdrawals to kick in with carbohydrates and sweet stuff, versus I think heroin, the time for the withdrawal to kick in is like in a few minutes. Cocaine too, like their time for withdrawals is much quicker, whereas with carbohydrates or anything sweet, it's like a day, full day before the withdrawals start.
True. Because that's withdrawals. So that's opposite of like the weight gain. Weight gain will pop up a couple of days after your cheat and then go back down. But with withdrawals, I remember, because with you, you were the only person that I was able to do 100% sober with for 2 weeks. So yeah. But anyways, oh my goodness, day 3, 4, and 5. Ooh.
I remember. Yes, I remember.
Yes,
those are the worst.
Brutal. But then again, I also was not employing the intensity of progressive overload. Right. So I'm curious. We'll see in the future. Yeah.
I hadn't started talking about it, right? I hadn't even I was like, okay, addiction is real, guys. I finally came out of my denial and I was sharing it with everybody. And you know, and then I realized, wow, I can do a month, but it's painful and I'm just shopping too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to, transfer my addiction to shopping addiction,
I remember that. Yeah. And like you've always told me, it is going to be harder to do 100% carnivore if you don't have a strong why. And I have seen that pattern, and I'm like, interesting. So that's why the dopamine talk has definitely helped as well.
And that, like, I felt like that was the last thing that was missing in my approach with myself and with my clients, is that because I'm in constant evolution too, you know? And that was the last part that was missing. It's like, okay, fantastic. We get all this part. We get the addiction part. We get the importance of following a sober meal plan, or as close to a sober meal plan as possible. And then the final thing was, now you gotta actually get uncomfortable
Yeah.
to raise that dopamine level, because that's you can't go through life with a dopamine deficit. You'll always be at risk for a relapse every single day of your life.
Yeah, and are engaging in behavior with food that you don't want, even if you choose to moderate certain things. It's like, okay, all right, that thinking that can creep up in your brain of like, well, if I do this, then that, and then forget it. No, that has gone down.
The all or nothing. Yeah,
all or nothing thinking is horrible, and so no, that's not. I can't do that approach. I know some people can. I can't. I have, but it's not long lasting. I'm trying to do things that are long lasting.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Wow. We talked about so many amazing, important, mind-blowing things that are going to change the lives of so many people. I know it. So thank you so much, Ayana. Where can people find you? Because you share amazing content on your social media, and who knows, you know, you're going to be probably our next fitness empire boss. You're on your way. If that's what you want to do.
Yes, I definitely want to coach eventually. I'm starting small, so that will come out soon. But Pilar Fit Vegas on Instagram and YouTube. And for TikTok, it's Pilar Fit LV. So
I'm gonna make sure, well, they're gonna be on our screens here, our Instagrams, and the rest of the links are gonna be in the first couple of lines in the description box of this YouTube video, so people can click and find you very easily. You just, you know, you have a wealth of information. A lot of times you'll be sending me stuff like, did you see this? You know, so I love that. I love the relationship that we have, and I'm just so grateful to have met you and to have this this beautiful, fun relationship or connection that we have. So thank you for that.
Yes, it's like, I feel the exact same way. I'm so happy. So thank you for having me on as well.
Yay. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. If you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next